hello, DirtFish Rally friends. Rally Finland is done and dusted. And where have we come to for our end of rally review, David Evans?
The Yellow House jump in
Rovanperä. It's a bit of a giveaway, isn't it? It's a big old clue, that Yellow House. Yeah, listen, the rally didn't come to Rovanperä this year, so we thought we would.
It was just over there, though. Or
Well,
there.
a little bit further down that way, to be honest with you. Yeah, not too far down the road, but my goodness me, we must have come, 6 or 7 Ks through the stage.
Badly, because you were driving.
Beautifully driven. Oh my goodness, you could feel, the atmosphere, you could feel the history. You could feel the movement in the car, couldn't you, Davey?
If you say so.
Anyway, folks, listen, we were looking forward to a battle royal here on the final day of Rally Finland. Remember at the start of the day, Ott Tänak led by around about 10 seconds, wasn't it, from Rovanperä. Do you know what? First stage.
Job done.
First 3 corners of the first stage from Ott Tänak. Just absolutely supreme. He put it down, he said, listen, he won that stage. He said, if you're going to beat me over the next 3 stages, you are going to have to do something more special than I've done all weekend. And Rovanperä had no answer to it. It was the ultimate drive this weekend.
He did have an answer to it.
He didn't.
He did. Well, he did, but he just chose not to answer it. He chose not to.
He had an answer, but it was too much of a risky answer.
Yeah, exactly. He could have gone harder. Yeah. But he wasn't prepared to take the risks that Ott was prepared to take.
And Ott Tänak, what can we say about him that's not already been said, David? It is one of the greatest drives I think we have ever seen. I think that's reasonable to say. Now, a lot of people jump up and down and say, what about so-and-so here, so-and-so there? Yeah, but it's one-off, You have to put these things...
so-and-so here and so-and-so there?
Yeah, one-off. You have to put these things in context. It wasn't a dominating victory. It wasn't a victory where he came from behind to batter the opposition. But it was a victory in a car that no one saw coming.
100%.
Nobody gave them any chance, particularly after the efforts from the team in Estonia, which were, to be quite frank, disappointing, massively disappointing in Estonia. He came here on the back foot. The team were very much on the back foot, still under pressure. And my goodness me, he wrung every last ounce of power and performance out of that car.
We were talking to Jari-Matti.
We were.
And Jari-Matti said he rates this the same as Loeb in 2005 when he won every stage in Corsica. That at that time was unbelievable. Oh. I think, and for the rival team principal to rank Ott Tänak's win in a Hyundai at that level, it says it all. And last night you and I were sort of saying, 8 seconds, is that enough, Oh, it was. At no point did Ott look like a driver who didn't have the answer.
Absolutely.
If Kalle was going to this level, Ott was going to this level.
And he pushed him to that level, David, where Kalle thought, yeah, this level's enough. I can't really afford to go to the next level.
And like you say, that was in the first handful of corners this morning. Yeah. The car was rarely in a straight line. Yeah. It was absolute maximum commitment. And the guy genuinely, as much as he'll hate to hear this, he drove like an absolute Finn today. Kalle was never far behind. He was never far enough that when Kalle was that bit further behind on Friday, EP was there, Lappi was there. There was always a Finn in a Toyota snapping at his heels. So for me, the massive thing that we've seen from Ott here is just an ability to drive beyond himself for 3 days, which you do see. We've seen it before. You remember when Loeb won here for the first time? You talked to him at the end of that win, whenever it was, in 7 or 8, I can't remember. And he said, I'm not doing that again.
He was exhausted, mentally and physically exhausted.
Totally, because he's a driver that drove, he always had that little bit in reserve that he could just take it up for 1 or 2 stages just to put the rest away.
Yeah, well, we knew he could win, but we didn't think he could win in this car. But let's hear what Ott Tänak had to say at the end of a glorious 4 days of rallying.
It was a tough weekend. Actually, when a bit mentally difficult. There was a lot of pressure, and beginning of the rally, and Toyota boys gave us a little chance. So we saw some light end of the tunnel, and since then, when you're leading, you always try to keep the position, and we've been fighting hard. There's been Elvin behind, Esa-Pekka behind, and Kalle behind, all them trying, but we managed, and it was not easy, but I can't say it's really my best performance by driving, but definitely the best win I've ever had.
Was it your bravest performance?
bravest and maybe a bit stupid as well, but it paid out.
Yeah, well, it was far from a stupid performance. Many congratulations again to Ott Tänak and to Martin Järveoja. David, what does this mean for the team going forward? You know, we did see the result in Sardinia, but this was a very different result.
This was Ott's result. This was Ott and Martin's result. You know, in Sardinia, you could say that it absolutely wasn't handed to them, but they were helped. Nobody helped them here.
Nope.
You know, they went out and they stole this from the Finns. What does it say? Maybe it says the most about a place like New Zealand. Somewhere where it's, you know, we're back to really fast gravel. I suspect the result could be exactly the same, but just with a different name in 2 weeks when we get to Belgium. In Ypres, you know, Thierry Neuville will have that same home-ish advantage.
You're well done indeed to the whole Hyundai team. You've been under an awful lot of pressure. There's been a lot of public criticism, and, you know, to be fair, any of us journalists who work around the WRC are responsible for parts of that criticism, and I think they've deserved it.
I think it's honest commentary as well, Colin.
It's honest commentary, you know? Yeah. Criticism is honest commentary, absolutely. You're doing a wonderful job. Keep it up, because we need a strong Hyundai in the championship.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit then about Toyota. Slightly perplexing. I asked Jari-Matti at the end of the day, were you disappointed? And he put a relatively brave face on it and said, no, of course I'm not disappointed. We've extended our lead in the Drivers' Championship. We've extended our lead in the manufacturers. But this is, since we've seen this new, we've seen Toyota coming back to the championship. This is the first time they've lost in New Vascular. That must hurt, David.
Yeah, completely. And it will hurt Jari-Matti more than anybody in the team. He's the Finn's Finn, isn't it? You know, winning here means everything. He understands the history, the legacy of this rally, and it does hurt. But equally, being pragmatic, they've made advances again. Rovanperä has taken more points. But I still don't buy it. You know, Calais and Jari-Matti, they won't be partying anything like as hard as they would have done if they'd won.
The other thing I find slightly perplexing, I still find it perplexing, and I've asked a number of people about this. You know, if you were to bet on which rally Toyota would come to with the perfect setup, it would be this one. The car was developed in the Vascular region. They've tested on more gravel kilometres here than anywhere else, but all four drivers struggled to find the perfect setup. Now, they put it down to conditions. Is that? I mean,
I'm not
we've
sure.
got to believe them.
Well, you know, they say they haven't done a lot of running on these roads. Talked to Tom Fowler. Of course, they started late. They had a long winter, so they didn't get a lot of running. You know, after the snow had finally gone. The one thing that Tom said to us was that, you know, well, show me who did have a perfect car that they were completely comfortable in. There was nobody. No. Was there? There was not one driver that actually got in and thought, this is it, I'm here. These cars, you know, the engine's the same from last year, but everything else is quite radically different. And it's really, really hard to come to an event of this nature.
With no data, or very limited data.
You've got historical data, and, you know, they know how to adapt what they'd got last year into what they've got this year. But this event is so much about feeling, isn't it? You know, when you're on the limiter and top, you need everything to be exactly right. And it takes a long time to get there. Yeah,
it really does. But let's hear it from Kalle Rovanperä, who, as I said earlier, extends his lead in the World Rally Championship.
A bit similar kind of feelings than what we had last year, at least in my car and my setup, that it was not really 100% fast and good feeling. So yeah, a bit similar feeling. Of course, this year we were much closer, but yeah, that's something what we need to improve for this rally. But yeah, it's only one rally of the season. We have been quite fast in the others, so it's not so bad. To be honest, I cannot be so disappointed. But of course, at the home rally, you want to give the best result for the fans and yourself. But yeah, regarding what I was expecting with the cleaning and everything, I'm quite happy. The points are really good what we get at the end, and yeah, we are here.
So Kalle Rovanperä, you know, it could well be that when we get to Acropolis Rally, we are celebrating a new World Rally champion. He's 3 rallies ahead now of the opposition. Now, a man who was hoping to add to his tally of, well, 1 win in the World Rally Championship this week. And I think he realistically believed he had a chance, and certainly after Friday's efforts, we also believed he had a chance, was Esa-Pekka Lappi. But Lappi doesn't, we all love Esa-Pekka Lappi, he's such a character. Doesn't make things easy for himself, David, and this role on the final day, I think it was on the penultimate stage, you know what, he had to fight very, very hard. A, to get that car through the stage, B, to repair the car, and then C, to drive the car fast enough through Ruhimäki to hold on to his third place. It was quite some eventful final day for him.
Like you say, he doesn't do things by half. We've seen this before with drivers, that he was, through Friday, he was right at the sharp end, right in the middle of the fight. And then when you drop back a little bit, which he had, you can lose focus.
He's struggling with the Mozzies,
yeah,
David. Lots of little Mozzies nipping us on him. Oh, yeah.
And that was the point, you know, that he dropped back a little bit, and it could be a concentration thing.
Not sure what that was. That was a beastie.
And that was it. You know, it was pretty innocuous. He said that he'd got the room to let the car run wide, but what he hadn't factored in was the fact that it would build a rut.
That's right.
There, and it caught him out. You know, it's quite a high price to pay for. It was
high price for someone up there. I don't know who pays for the repair bills. He didn't pay any price because he held on to his third place. But Elfyn Evans, he was the one who we thought would push Kalle Rovanperä closest this year, David. But you have to say, you know, he talked about this event lacking spark, a spark. His season has lacked that spark.
It has. It just hasn't got going, has it? And at every turn where it could have got going, it's just sort of faltered a little bit. You know, and all the way back to Monte, where he just moved into the lead on that split time on that stage, and then he went off. And you have these seasons as drivers. And we said all along that Elfyn's not the kind of driver who is willing to step outside of that, not comfort zone, because they're always outside their comfort zone. But so yeah, it's a difficult one. And there's part of me now that thinks, you know, for Elfyn, almost he's written this season off for sure already. Now just enjoy the remaining rallies and build towards next year.
We'll move on from Toyota and we'll move now to M Sport, and just another really difficult weekend for them. You know, it's very hard to be too critical of Craig Breen, because Craig Breen's instructions, and it was well documented, you wrote about it, from the instructions from Richard Milner were, you know, shackles are off, go for it. So that's what he did, and he made a mistake.
Yeah, and that's where the story begins and ends, isn't it? You know, that's exactly what happened. What we need to look for now is how he moves on. We've said this a lot, you know, how does he move on from Estonia? How does he move on from Finland? The fortunate thing, he goes to an event that he's won before, he goes to IPA, and let's see. Clearly the car has got good pace. We've seen in compromised conditions, we saw Loeb win in Monte Carlo earlier this year, so the car's good. Maybe lacking a little bit of engine now after the Hyundai and Toyota have had their mid-season upgrades in Estonia, but still, it's on that kind of tarmac, you'd back Breen. You know, he's born and brought up in Ireland, which it's all about.
And that's, you know, IPA is a rally that very much rewards experience. You don't have to be experienced to win IPA, and you know, I suppose Chris Meek's shown us that in the past, and Craig Breen I think might have won the first time he went, but it definitely rewards experience. So
yeah, it does, and there's a lot of drivers going there that have just done it once. You know, all of the Toyota guys. It's almost new for them. So.
It really is. David, do you think it lived up to it? Coming back to,
of course it does every year, and it's not. You know, it's almost not about the competition. It's about returning to the sort of spiritual home of rallying, isn't it? And coming to places like this.
Absolutely.
You know, this is all it is a house in the middle of Finland.
A yellow house.
Summer house.
A
yellow house.
Yeah.
But you know, you look
someone
there,
lives in it. Someone comes here for the summer holidays. You know.
And down that road, just over that crest, is where Marco Martin flew 50 metres. You know, at 120 miles an hour. It's
somewhere along here is where Colin McRae ended up in the trees, and you know, it's just
every corner.
Every corner. Folks, I have to say, it's just the atmosphere that was created by Kalle Rovanperä. Kalle Rovanperä is doing wonders for the sport, particularly here in Finland. There's a new generation of youngsters growing up who want to follow Rovanperä. It was almost like, not that a football crowd is always a great thing, but it was almost like a soccer crowd at times. To hear the cheering, never heard it before, and I think that's something I will certainly
never heard it in Finland before.
No, we will be back very, very shortly at the Ypres Rally. What's it called? What's the proper name for it? Rally Ypres, Ypres Rally.
Ypres Rally Belgium.
Oh yeah, that could be the one.
And don't forget, we've not just got videos, we've got podcasts. Tune in. Download.
Yeah, download.
Go to your
download,
podcast
listen,
supplier.
Yeah, absolutely.
And all the news.
Yeah, plenty
News
of podcasts.
Central.
You finish it.
See ya.